Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Tuesday, December 19th, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is down suddenly and sharply. We're watching it on Twitter, and it's reminding others of the good old bear whale. Do you remember the bear whale? You can see the chart price right there, and then it goes right back up, and then back up some more. But we're watching because Bitcoin Cash is now trading on GDAX. That's right, they opened up Bcash, and now it's all happening. Of course, with Coinbase, they promptly opened Bcash only to crash on Bcash. That's right, Coinbase, GDAX, we're hearing that they're down. Everyone's saying no one can get access, no one can sell their coins. And boy, does everyone want to sell their coins because before Coinbase and GDAX crashed, BCH was trending at $9,500 a coin. That's a 206% increase. Meanwhile, over at CoinMarketCap, we see that BCH has risen 50% to $3,313 a coin, while Bitcoin has fallen around 10% to a last of 16,991. Everybody's talking about it on Twitter. Brian Hoffman says, insider trading of crypto is so obvious. BCH skyrockets. Hours later, Coinbase rolls it out. One has to wonder why Coinbase keeps this kind of information secret and who they tell and who knew that this was going to happen. Others say they're complaining about Coinbase beating their self-declared deadline of January 1st. KP, Boycott Coinbase, says, no, it's mostly the disingenuous claim that they care about transaction fees to push the political B2X fork through. But when given the opportunity to integrate Segwit, they drag their feet and launch full support for BCH instead, trying to maximize trading revenue while shafting customers on fees. To talk about this issue today, we're joined by Rhett Creighton. How's it going there, Rhett? See if we can show you in the broadcast and unmute yourself. Hello, Rhett.
Hi, Thomas. Great. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be here. It's exciting times for Bitcoin Cash, and yeah, been looking forward to being on the show for a while. I've had a different point of view from most of the other participants of the World Crypto Network for a long time, related to Bitcoin Cash, and so it's great to finally be on to talk about it.
And it is true, we are broadcasting live from the moon. We stole the old Daily Show set. They packed it up in crates and we brought it over here. But Rhett, first, what about Bcash? Why is it so high? People are trading it on Coinbase. You think they're buying it?
Price in these crypto markets, it's really volatile. I mean, I don't really have any inside information about why the price went up today. I was really bullish on Bitcoin Cash when it was about $350 a coin. I remember, Tone Vays was telling everybody it's going to go to $5, it's going to go to $1, it's going to be the next Aurora coin, and I recognized that it was useful in many ways because I was a developer for Bitcoin back in 2014. And back then you could embed metadata into the blockchain for pennies. And that was actually really exciting. There were all these ideas like, well, maybe you could do signatories, maybe you could do things for healthcare records, supply chain, right? And a lot of those innovative plans just kind of went out the window at the current fee prices. And
wasn't that just an early idea? Like early on, people thought they could store all kinds of data in the Bitcoin blockchain, and then they figured out it was too important and being used for another use case. It was being used to secure Bitcoin, right?
And that very well may be the case. But I can tell you that as a software developer, when I first had Bitcoin and the price was really low and the fees were really low, I played with it, and I'd be like, oh, okay, like, just send some Bitcoin transactions. And what am I losing here? It's like a few pennies.
So we need Bcash because the Bitcoin testnet is unworthy. You said Bcash was useful. How's it more useful than Litecoin?
because
how's Litecoin useful?
Because it's true. Like if I had some testnet coins, right? If I had some Bitcoin testnet coins, those are free. So obviously the transaction fees on Bitcoin testnet coins are free, and Litecoin transaction is free. But there's just kind of something about it, like when you're a developer, it's just something like, when you know that you're developing on the real system, and if you have a company and you try to go in and you're going to show like a healthcare potential client how you can put metadata anchoring their records on the Bitcoin blockchain, it's a little different to go in and say, well, here it is on Bitcoin testnet. When you can show them, here's what it looks like on Bitcoin. It's just a little like different, right? Even though like technically it's very, very similar. It just kind of I think it had a different feel. For me as a developer, it was exciting to use. But true, I mean, you have a point. Bitcoin Cash is an alternative.
When you consider the cross-atomic swaps, because normally I'm one to say, okay, Litecoin's not that useful. It's a copy of Bitcoin. It's in its own way a test net for Bitcoin. It has a lot of value right now. I'm not going against Litecoin. Congratulations to the Litecoin bulls. But after we got Segwit on Litecoin and Segwit on Bitcoin, I understood that we could do a cross-atomic swap where we could trade Litecoin for Bitcoin without a third party, where the computer would line up the prices and the times and it would do the swap. Then I thought that Litecoin was useful. For Bcash to have the same usefulness, it would need Segwit, which it doesn't have.
So okay, so there's two points there, and I disagree with 2 points that you made there. I can go through them pretty quickly. The first point that you made is that for Bitcoin Cash to have cross-chain atomic swaps, it would need Segwit. So that's not true. What it would need is it would need a transaction malleability fix. There's the transaction malleability bug that came along with Bitcoin that Segwit fixed.
Agree. And it was included in Segwit. Yeah, the fix.
And that has not been fixed in Bitcoin Cash. So there is a possibility. There are many, many much more simpler ways to fix that transaction malleability bug, which would allow cross-chain atomic swaps with Bitcoin Cash and other chains that would not necessitate using Segwit. So right now, you would need to fix that transaction malleability, but that's very much in the roadmap.
Bcash would need developers, and they have money now, so let's assume they could buy developers.
And they very likely will fix that transaction. Nobody's trying to say we shouldn't fix that transaction malleability bug in Bitcoin Cash. Now they won't. They're not going to integrate Segwit. Now on the other side of things.
And they're not going to fix ASIC boost, right? The ASIC boost bug.
Definitely not. Definitely not going to fix ASIC boost.
Yeah, just let that go.
Right. So they won't fix ASIC boost. Definitely. There any fix to transaction malleability that Bitcoin Cash integrates will definitely allow ASIC boost, right? Because we know that the Bitmain miners are incentivized immensely to keep ASIC boost. But back to this cross-chain atomic swaps, right? Like I'm a developer. It's really exciting technology, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I've created businesses. I understand like that you have to create things that people can actually use. And while cross-chain atomic swaps sound really exciting, they get a lot of hype, I don't believe that they are the near-term future of cryptocurrency trading. As much as I would love to get off of these centralized exchanges, the fact of the matter is that on these exchanges, like the ones that you're showing right now, they have these really fast, low latency, high speed order books. And if you try to do that as a cross-chain atomic swap in a decentralized manner, you can't get that kind of speed. And there's a thing with any kind of market trading, liquidity begets liquidity. And so even though everyone's going to scream up and down for days, they want a decentralized exchange, they want a cross-chain atomic swap, what people actually want is something that's fast and something that lets them place orders inexpensively, add things to a quick order book. We've had this technology for cross-chain atomic swaps. They've done them in Litecoin and Bitcoin. Why isn't that the de facto way to do them? Well, because it's slow and it's expensive, and it's always going to be slower than a centralized solution, right? So the
And remember
liquidity.
the complexity with exchanges. You have the order of the trades. You have all these trades going on at the same time. You have these differences where for the real stock markets, they want their network boxes to be closer to the source because it'll be faster. So now they give them all the same amount of network cable, so they're all the same distance from the source. That's how down to the second these trades are. To imagine that on a decentralized exchange with all of the complexities to handle a decentralized market seems incredibly challenging and difficult. It would be much more basic, like you're saying. Or I used Shapeshift recently, and I always kind of thought that Shapeshift had liquidity, and when I put my trade up, it would go through. No, I was the liquidity. I put my trade up. I waited half an hour or whatever for someone to come along. Then it worked out. It was a fine system, but still a little different than what you'd think. That not that instant, simple transaction.
The other thing is just the matching. So like if you and I have already worked out exactly, how much Litecoin you want to trade for some Bitcoin, and we know exactly what the price is, and we decide, through this chat, we're going to do this trade, we could set that up and do that as a cross-chain atomic swap, and we don't need to go through any intermediary party, and that's awesome. But the reality is the market moves so fast, most people don't want that, because what if we agree on a price and an hour later the price moves, and then one of us is going to feel really stupid for agreeing on this.
The price is always going to move. You buy the car, it loses half its value, and you drive it off the lot. And it's computer.
But if I agree to sell you some Litecoin, and now I can get a 10% better deal on a centralized exchange, why wouldn't I want to?
Well, no, the only reason to use a decentralized exchange is because there'd be no record of it, and there's a whole list of reasons why people want record
and no central party taking custody.
I think that's still, well, I mean, paying no fee. There's two sides of this. There's paying no fee, cheap people, and then there's leaving no record for sensitive people or
but the other
privacy conscious.
Sorry to cut you off. The other important thing, we think we both agree that there's always a risk whenever you put your coins on an exchange. And so there's some risk that it might get seized, or it might get, you have that.
Yeah, but decentralized risk, you have to assume it's even more difficult. It's like putting your coins in the cloud. Like, it's going to work out fine unless it's the that celebrity thing. They all got leaked.
Yeah, right.
Something happens, right?
The technical ability, and very few people have done these atomic swaps so many times that you can be confident that there won't be any hiccup. So in those cases, I don't know how we how do we get off track on this? I'm just not, as cool as they sound, I'm just not as bullish on these atomic swaps kind of taking everything over and how it being a problem for Bitcoin Cash.
All right, well, we're hearing questions from the audience. They want to say, why are you not willing to wait for the Lightning Network? Why should we scale with Bcash and presumably a lower cost coin with the cheaper transactions and tons more coins and all that? Or we could just be patient and wait for the Lightning Network.
Right. So I've answered this question many, many times. And every time, I talk to people about the Lightning Network, they kind of have different levels of understanding about the Lightning Network. So kind of the question I get from people that indicates that they are most confused about what the Lightning Network is, the first thing, you and I have both heard this, is
they have it explained to them by Ola. Did he talk really fast?
Ola, yeah,
Lalu. I'm sorry.
Lalu. Yeah, Lalu. I don't know where they get this from, but some people say, they've asked me, I guess they're just making assumptions, and they say, okay, I think that probably what's happening is the miners hate the Lightning Network, because what's going to happen is once we have Lightning Network, there won't be any more fees in Bitcoin, because it'll just be so fast and everything, and then they're not going to make any money. So that, if you think
possible. This is possible, and hate or fear, if
that's what you think, you are misunderstanding the Lightning Network and Bitcoin on multiple levels. So the first thing that you're misunderstanding is that even with these high fees, miners get 90% of their earnings from the block subsidy, right? Which is the 12.5 coins that's added to every block. So
Right now they do. Right now they do. But as the Wired author reminded me, in 2032, 99% of the Bitcoins will be mined. So we're going to need some kind of a fee solution to help miners make money off fees as early as 2032, unless the price of Bitcoin is so ridiculously high that making a point, something of a Bitcoin is worth it for the miners.
right. So my opinion on that is that's going to be another civil war when that happens. If you think 1 megabyte versus 2 megabytes was bad, just wait till the block subsidy starts dwindling down. And we're definitely going to have another fork when that happens. There's just no way around it, because you're going to have the people that want the 21 million cap, and then that may lead to instability in blocks being mined. It may be the fact that we have a really stable system for blocks to be mined because 90% of the reward is incentivizing miners to just pump out new blocks. Now, what happens when that all goes away? Are they incentivized now to hold blocks hostage so they can get more fees? Right? Maybe, we don't know. And so nobody can answer that. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. 20 years or 15 years, I'm sure we'll be discussing it and there'll be a huge
Again, we'll be old timers.
And we'll be on different sides.
Oh yeah, Rhett and I. But I do want to give a shout out to Robex World, who's in the chat. He says he's mad and he has an opinion about Bitcoin. Whee!
Well, Robeck's pretty cool. Does he say what his opinion is?
He didn't. He didn't say in the chat.
Yeah.
It's $5 to have us say that, so I like to.
Oh, okay, $5. Wait, $5.
Everyone's welcome to send us the super chats if you have questions. I'm seeing a lot of negativity, about Rhett. Come on, people here. Rhett's here volunteering his time. Rhett could go program his computer for money. Doesn't have to waste it talking to you. He's talking the Bcash. He seems right. It went from 300 to 3,000. I have like one left, but we invest in different things. People make their own choices. You have to look at the information available and make your choice. I do think it's conspicuous. Bitcoin goes down, Bcash goes up. Maybe try to do it once on your own, is what I would say, because then you have to look at things like this. Bitcoin's going back up. We're at 16,910. We seem to have floored at 15,800. And as always during these things, if you didn't sell early, it's kind of too late to sell. You're in the middle of the event now. So I would suggest holding, waiting it out, see how it goes. It's always up to you if you want to sell. It's your decision. But basically, you also can't kick yourself because you didn't know this was going to happen. No one knew this was going to happen. And no one can perfectly time the sells and the buys. A lot of people just hold during these kind of things. Or if it's too unsafe for you, it's your money. You can always sell. You could get out of this. But looking at it right now, does seem like, at least for the moment, we found a bottom. We can see that this candle is reaching all the way back up to here. That's inspiring. And like I've always said, there is a possibility that out there, smart money is just waiting for their chance to buy. And smart money buys on dips. They're trying to get the most money for their clients' money, who probably have a lot of money. And they could just buy this right up. But we don't know what's going to happen. We've got 841 live viewers. Ask everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. That's the way YouTube helps people find more viewers. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. So now, did we see any good comments in the chat?
All of that, I think all of that was really great advice, Thomas.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, you don't want to everyone. I wish I could predict the tops and the bottoms, and I always look at it. Oh, if I've sold here and I'd bought here, and you feel bad about it. But again, you didn't know this was happening. This is like the weather. It goes up, it goes down. You have a good day, you have a bad day. Remember when you were happy a few days ago? Just remember that. You didn't do anything then. You're not doing anything now. There's nothing you can do now to make the price go the other way. Or if you're happy on Bcash now, same thing. Take some profits. If you're up, take profits. If you're down, hold, invest in some other things, go for a walk. We have options.
The one strategy that I have sort of recommended from the beginning of this Bitcoin Cash fork, that I felt kind of strongly that if you think about who the big whales in Bitcoin, you've got people like Tim Draper that bought a bunch of Silk Road coins. Other people bought a whole bunch of early Bitcoin pre-August 1st fork, and many of them are probably sitting on, they're holding 1-to-1. They have one Bitcoin and they have one Bitcoin Cash, and they haven't sold either. And my feeling was like, well, if you really want to be, what you want to be is in the same boat as those guys, because they're the ones that are going to be the biggest influencers. So I've always felt the same, because I can't predict. I don't know what the price is going to be. I don't know what they're going to go up or down tomorrow. And so I felt the safest avenue is just be a pre-August 1st Bitcoin holder, be like the whales, hold 1-to-1. And, and yeah, that's just sort of the safest way to ride it out.
Yeah, well, it's too late for that. But they're saying in the chat that Trace Meyer sold all of his Bcash. That'd be surprising. I heard he wasn't going to touch it. And well, again, for people like Trace, it just doesn't matter. It's just more money sitting there. We could be seeing Roger selling his Bitcoin, buying Bcash. That could be helping out this rally. A lot of people thought that when the Coinbase Bitcoin were finally released, there would be a great amount of sells. Now, remember, we still have to wait a full 24 hours or maybe even 48 hours for the entire market to hear this news. There's a lot of people that haven't woken up yet. They're going to wake up, hear this news, decide if they want to sell or buy. That's going to affect the price. We have to, a lot of this is time. So if you're thinking we have your set one way or another way, there's still time to ride this out or to make your changes. So let's see. They're saying in the chat, not that much. I don't know. Are you using Bcash, Rhett? Have you spent any Bcash today?
No, I haven't really used it for anything.
You can still spend it at Bitmain, right? You can get the miners for Bcash. I'm not certain what else you can get for Bcash. And again, for me, even though we're, Bcash is up today, it's a big kind of a different day. I still think at the core of this, Roger's making some huge, he's making some logic mistakes. What I've heard Roger present over and over again is that the idea that Bitcoin merchant adoption would have worked if the fees were lower. And I'm not so sure about that. I don't think that Bitcoin versus the credit cards is the battle that you want to fight the first time out of the gate. I think you'd rather fight Bitcoin versus savings accounts. Savings accounts just sit there, they don't make you any money, and they could always be seized by the FBI, and you can't donate to WikiLeaks with your savings account because it's not censorship resistance. In all of those examples, Bitcoin is very successful. So, waiting about that.
I think that, as sort of like Jimmy Song kind of pointed this out to me on your show, that where people get confused is people talk about, being a Bitcoin user, and they're kind of like two very different types of Bitcoin users, where you and I fall more into the category where we're using cryptocurrency, we mostly hold it, and we kind of do relatively very few trades compared to some of these exchanges that are doing, thousands of trades per day. And some of the time, some of these exchanges are taking up almost the whole block, a Bitcoin block. They're getting all of their transactions into that block. And so they're using Bitcoin in a very different way from you and I. And I think that those types of users, and there's much fewer of those types of users that are doing these larger transaction volumes. I think they've dealt with a lot of pain with these fees going up, and then the idea of okay, well, now possibly they can save 20, 30%, 50% maybe in fees if they do this technical upgrade, which is really challenging to a different.
To be clear, I agree with you. They have felt pain. If you look at the original Coinbase business model, the fees were zero. Coinbase covered the fees for you, but they made a change. Now the users pay for their own fees. Shouldn't that solve the problem?
Well, it disincentivizes people to use Bitcoin, right? So in their early startup stage, their whole
and Coinbase does have that system where you can send, Bitcoin through their database, or they'll send Bitcoin through the email, and it's it's just like change tip. It's Bitcoin in name only.
Internally, they keep a record. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I can agree with you. I mean, I'm definitely not seeing mass adoption in merchants. I don't think that, you know, now that Bitcoin Cash is higher in price, I'm gonna see every merchant on my street accepting it. Um, and that's actually a criticism that I have of Bitcoin as well. Um, I think that, you know, about maybe $300,000 Bitcoin would put it at the same market cap as gold. So we're pretty close to maybe 10, 15x the price. And then Bitcoin should be, you know, it should be the market cap of gold. And for it to sustainably sit there at a $200,000, $300,000 Bitcoin, I think we would need to see society transform a little bit. Like I can go to a pawn shop and they'll take gold, right? They would have to start accepting, you know, Bitcoin at pawn shops and things like that. At least as much as you see gold, don't you think?
I still think if there's demand for Bitcoin and if the supply keeps going down, then the price keeps going up. And I think there's tons of demand for Bitcoin. I think that people in the US underestimate the need for a currency that the government can't take away from you. They underestimate the need for a store of value that could be put on a piece of paper or a little computer chip and carried across the border, as opposed to if you put too much gold in your car, it'll weigh it down and it'll break the axles. And it'll be really obvious that you're carrying gold because your car will sag or your seats will look all blown out and metallic-y.
So do you see any kind of either timeline or price point where
Well, first of all, timeline is good because I think that's a corporate word, and I think that's something that Bitcoin doesn't have. I think that the people at Coinbase and the people at BitPay, they need timelines and they need deadlines, and they have this top-down organization. Bitcoin doesn't have that. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long it's going to take. It's a science project. I think the most important thing from Bitcoin's perspective is not to crash the whole airplane. And I think that's where, you know, Bitcoin Core, the core team comes from with their attitude towards change. They don't like it because it could crash the whole plane.
Yeah, and honestly, to be fair, you know, I mean, Bitcoin Core, I have to give them credit. Bitcoin was at about $1,000 a coin at the beginning of this year, and even with this, you know, this huge correction or whatever, it's still pretty close to $17,000 a coin, which I never would have expected at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, I saw some report that Bitcoin could go down 90% and it would still outperform the stock market, the real estate market. You know, it could drop 90% for the year down to 1,700, right? And it's still up 70% for the year. So, you know, I look, you know, I have to give Core credit for that, right? They whatever they did, I didn't expect Bitcoin to perform this well this
Well,
year.
you know what they did. They adopted segregated witness. The same thing happened on the Litecoin network. Come on.
I don't know if I can attribute it to that, but
Segwit equals price going up.
I, I I just don't like Segwit. Can you? I don't know if you can show. Can I share a screen or do you share a screen?
You could share a screen if you want. Go ahead.
All right, let me just. This is people might hate this. Let's see.
But let me talk to some questions while we get to this. So I
Yeah.
see a question in the chat. Who owns Blockstream? Now, here's the problem with Blockstream that makes it not like any other company. Like we could say, oh, someone owns Microsoft, so Microsoft's going to produce code a certain way. It's going to follow these guidelines. The problem with Blockstream is that you have like 5 to 10 of the hottest programmers in the Bitcoin industry. And the Bitcoin industry has gone crazy lately, right? The price has gone crazy up, and you know these guys could get jobs anywhere, right? Let's put that up, number one. Also, number two, most of them are early Bitcoiners. I don't know how much money they have, but let's assume they could also just quit. They could do whatever they want. So you have the smartest people who now have money. So the problem then is they're not going to want to work on your super secret military project. They're not going to want to spy on everyone. And much like Robert Oppenheimer, presumably they're going to figure out what they're working on far before it gets enacted. That's why it doesn't matter if some big evil insurance company owns Blockstream, whatever kind of guilt by association argument that you're going to lay on me. I don't believe that those programmers can be bought. I believe they could get jobs anywhere. I believe they're paid well, and I believe they got Bitcoin early. So, and their actions in the space, when I meet them, when I see them on chat rooms or mailing lists, they seem scientific to me. Adam Back seemed very scientific. I haven't met that many other Blockstream people, but again, that's the top.
So that's been my impression as well. I mean, I've kind of done a little bit of bashing of Blockstream online, you know, a little bit, but I definitely disagreed with a lot of the I don't know, their sort of political and technical choices that they've made with Bitcoin. But I've gone to the San Francisco Bitcoin developer meetups for years, as you have. Seen you there.
Did they silence you? Like, I hear all this talk of censorship, but when you actually go to the meetups and you ask them questions, do they try to answer? Are they polite?
They've been extremely respectful. They've been extremely knowledgeable. They're very easy to talk to. It's amazing how approachable people like Greg Maxwell and Peter, I forget his last name.
Well, and they'll take a Peter Rule, I think, and they'll take a question from the audience. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You come up to them, ask them a good science question. They'll think about it if they don't already have an answer, and they'll discuss it with you. That's why all Bitcoiners I've found are cool like that.
They're very cool. The biggest problem that I had really was a few months before Peter, he's the author of Segwit. I was really excited about Segwit at the time, and I was really excited it was going to get launched and it was going to fix transaction malleability and all these things I was really excited about. And then and I remember asking him, okay, it has to signal, and I said, how long do you think it's going to be until we get it in Bitcoin? And he was like, oh, take about a couple months. And now after 2 years later of fighting, right? It just was clear that they didn't communicate with either the miners, or there was some kind of problem there. And as nice as he is in person, and super technically,
I'm not so sure it was a communication problem after I learned about ASIC boost. Once we learned that the miners had a reason to oppose the upgrade, it wasn't so much a communications problem or a problem of politics as much it was a problem of motives. If we have different motives, we're never going to be able to work together.
Right. Well, I think I agree. I think very, very much what it could have been was that a miner had this ASIC boost advantage. And so their way of playing the game is like, well, okay, we're just not going to say anything about Segwit. And maybe that's what happened. And maybe the core team was confused about, okay, well, we're not hearing any opposition to Segwit. And then all of a sudden nobody's signaling it for a year. So that may very well have been what happened, but it was, obviously miners were motivated by something, probably ASIC boost played a large part, but that also influenced their political actions, right? And their communicative actions as well. So they kind of play on each other.
I want to defend their time preference here. There is kind of a Microsoft time to this, where they said a year, but we've never upgraded Bitcoin before in this way. We don't know how long it's going to take. Everyone's giving you an estimate.
Yeah. I mean, it was really an epic, what was that, a year and a half, 2 years? I mean, that was epic.
I mean, novels take years to write. Writing this code is similar to writing a novel. It has to be edited. It has to be reviewed. It has to make sense. You have to tie all the plots together. We can't just, write this code willy-nilly.
I feel like the price is kind of settling in right now. I've refreshed a few times, and like Bitcoin's still holding at about 17,000. Bitcoin Cash is kind of holding at 3,500. I mean, are you seeing anything different here? Because people are just kind of interested in the price.
I'm not sure where to look for the Bcash price other than on CoinMarketCap. So you can tell me the links in the chat, and I'll open up any page you guys like. But we are looking at the Bitcoin price. Is it at 16,983? Seems to have recovered from a low of 15,800, off from a couple little maybe a couple days ago high of 19,666, at least on Bitcamp. It's driving through 17,000 as I show it on the screen here. And then on Bcash, still looking, wow, it looks 62% up. That's a higher number than I saw previous. And it is at $3,579 a coin. Pretty impressive. Of course, we also have, while we're here, Ethereum's at $794 a coin. Ripple's at 75 cents a coin. Litecoin at $330, and IOTA at $4.88. We had a bit of an explosion in the altcoins recently, didn't we, Rhett?
Yeah, we did. And here, maybe I can share my screen because I think this is kind of interesting. So you can see this now?
Yep, looks good.
So I don't know if I have this accurate, and maybe someone in the chat can point this out, but I'm going to the CME Group's website. And so this is, it appears as if it's telling me what the volume was for the futures contracts that have been hyping really. I think, I mean, I have to assume that the, Bitcoin.
Well, they are still closing at night, right? So it should be off now.
I think CME does 24-hour until the weekend. It's like 5 days a week until the weekend, but and CBO.
They've got to get this sorted out. They've got to go 24/7. Bitcoin goes all the time. They've got to do this.
I think it is. Let's see. It has the.
I'm not 100% on whether that. I heard CBOE was actually going to close for nights and weekends.
Right, CBOE closed.
The chat is saying no futures is open. Some are saying CME is at 23 hours a day.
Yeah, 23. Right. So CME closes for 1 hour a day, and if I'm looking at this right, this is 153 January contracts, and each contract is 5 Bitcoin. So that's like, about what, like 700, so like 5.2, right? So 700 Bitcoin. So I'm just like, okay, this is only 700 Bitcoin in volume, and so like, what's the big deal, kind of, right? And I get it. It kind of opens the doors a little bit, but I mean, there's so many other ways to criticize these contracts, right? Like they're cash settled contracts.
Well, but the big deal is this is a historic exchange. It hasn't added a future since gold more than 40 years ago. This is mainstream Wall Street acceptance. We've been looking for this.
Do you remember when did Bitcoin?
You gotta turn the screen share off. I can see myself.
Oh, yeah. So okay, so we can go back to this. How do I turn this off? I'm screen sharing, and I don't know how to turn it off.
That's a stop button at the bottom. But let's see. Everyone is saying Tone is in a fetal position. Tone is crying in a corner. He sold all his Bcash. Tone was very public about selling his Bcash early. I went for a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 strategy. Even now, my third is gone. Most of my Bcash is gone. But this is cool. I mean, you guys enjoy your rally. Rhett, you're back with us.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't remember what I was gonna say, but when was Bitcoin at 10,000? Do you remember how many weeks ago? Like how many days ago did it break?
It happened so quickly. I don't know. It all seems like a blur.
I mean, that's the thing, is it was like what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when Bitcoin first broke 10,000. And if it's the case that was largely driven on this futures hype, and all we're seeing in the futures is maybe 700 Bitcoin a day volume, that is, I mean, I don't even think it would be paranoid to think we could easily correct back to 10,000. And I mean, and that's just, what is that? That's, I don't know what percentage drop that is from 17,000, right? But I mean, that wouldn't even phase me. Like, that's still, Bitcoin is 10x for the year. So it would still, Bitcoin would have a great year. And, what is kind of a little bit worrisome to me is seeing all these newcomers come in and they just think that Bitcoin has to go up forever. And honestly, I don't think, Thomas, if Bitcoin dropped to 10,000, would you sell all your Bitcoin in a panic? No.
I would be sad. I mean, I hate it when I lose money. But no, I would just hold the Bitcoin I have and maybe try to get some more, right? I mean,
right. I mean, that's what the long-term Bitcoin holders would do. But I'm a little bit worried that that's not everybody who's entering the market now. I've had all these people who ask me if they should get in, and anyway.
Well, and let's that in closing here. Let's talk to the new people. Okay, so you wanted in on Bitcoin. You want to get rich quick. You wanted the wild, wild ride. Well, this is it. If you bought Bitcoin the other day at 17,000 or 18,000, 19,000, you're down a little bit now. Welcome to the game. Welcome to being down. At one point, we were down for years, right? Rhett? We had the horrible dark times. I couldn't even look at my account. I had to forget that I owned any Bitcoin. I put it out of my mind. And that's what you might want to do. Go for a walk or watch a good movie. Don't think about this. Just let it happen. Presumably, if you're wise and you haven't invested anything that you can't afford to lose, then you're fine. But of course, everyone invests more than they can afford to lose. And that's why they're all gripped knuckles on the edge of the seat here. It makes it fun when it goes up, but it's not fun when it goes down. So I would say generally, I would say zoom out, look at the long-term chart. Everyone that's bought Bitcoin at the top of the peaks eventually makes money. The 1200 run that was such a big deal to us in 2013, you can't even see it on the chart now. When you zoom out, it looks like another one of these little bumps. There was a bump way back in the day. I wasn't in it, but Bitcoin went from like $30 to $1, and everyone lost their shit. But again, you can't even see that now on the chart. All you can see is this crazy spike up. It's the same thing you bought yesterday. It's still very popular. The whole world's interested in it. It's just having a different day today, perhaps because of this Bcash action, which is fine. Ethereum went way up and Bitcoin went way down, and the flipping was going to happen and all of that. So we got through that too. We'll get through this. If you need help, get help. If you lost too much money, if you can't take the volatility, go ahead and get out, sell your coins. But remember, when it goes up randomly and no one knows when it's going to go up, no one knows when it's going to go down. We can look at charts for a historical look, but no one knows the future. But you won't get the ups if you don't take the downs. So, Rhett,
I think
anything
that was really great. That was great, Thomas. Thank you for having me on.
All right, and where can people learn about what Rhett's up to these days? You worked on the Z Classic project. Now you're doing Whale Coin. What's going on with Rhett?
Yeah, you can check out my Twitter. That's probably the best case. So I'm on Twitter as Hey Rhett. And yeah, it's great talking to you.
All right, and just like to ask everybody to go ahead and follow the World Crypto Network on Twitter. We've also got a brand new homepage thanks to the Vortex for creating the web page. It keeps getting better. He's adding new little tweaks and things every day. Check that out at worldcryptonetwork.com. And as always, if you'd like to send us a donation, you can use the QR code on your screen. I think that's an upgraded Segwit address, so that should be great. Thanks to everybody for joining us in the chat. We have almost 1,000 viewers. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode unless something else crazy happens with the price. But we'll probably go to bed before that happens. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.